Hi, Andrew with Evermore Studio. I spent several months this past year making some 42mm Chonk 20-sided dice to give as holiday gifts. There's another video on those if you're interested. I had an idea for some fun boxes for the dice. I have an original edition Nomad 883 Desktop CNC machine, one of the first desktop models to come to market. I wasn't really sure what I wanted to make with it when I got it, and it has been sitting mostly unused for a long time. I recently used it to carve some 3D Celtic knots I modeled. I will link to my video on that in case you're interested. That got me thinking about it more, resulting in this, my first real CNC project. I originally designed the box as a 3D model since that's what I was familiar with doing. When I had trouble getting that to cut well, it was pointed out to me that it could be done easily enough with just 2.5D techniques. I redid it in Carbide Create, which was much easier and more reliable. I got some small custom-cut pieces of hardwood, basswood for practice, oak, cherry, walnut, and paddock. To keep the wood in place during machining, I covered one side of the boards and the spoiler board of my CNC machine with masking tape, then used cyanoacrylate glue to hold the two surfaces together. That held firmly, but allowed me to just peel the tape off when it was finished. Zeroing is how you tell the machine exactly where the material you are cutting is. I'm using a feeler gauge here to help point the machine at the exact lower left corner of the stock. With my other hand, I'm moving the stock in tiny increments. This is also called jogging. While it was probably not necessary to be this exact for this project, it was good practice. After zeroing, I run the cutting job. A putty knife is great for prying loose the finished pieces. I wanted to put a small medallion in the center of the lids. Aligning the lid piece in the machine to cut the pocket for that was a little challenging. I have a flip jig designed for two-sided machining that reliably aligns to the same place in the machine every time. I used the laser to cut some pieces of MDF to help align the lids to the center of the jig and protect them from the clamping screws. There was still some small variability with getting that set up. I made some practice targets from MDF and taped those to the lids with double-sided tape. After using that to get the pocket job aligned to the center of the lid, I removed the practice target, re-zeroed the Z-axis, and cut the pocket. The laser is better suited to putting my Evermore ambigram on the bottom of the boxes than the CNC. I made a quick cardboard jig and engraved the bottoms. Next, I hand sanded the machine pieces with progressively finer grits of sandpaper. It's not very glamorous, but there was an awful lot of sanding. I used sanding twigs to clean up the narrower surfaces and the inside. For the inner bottoms and tops, I used a sanding disc with the rotary tool. The sanded boxes all got several coats of wipe-on polyurethane, lightly sanded between coats and at the end. I made some custom painter's corners to support the pieces as they dried. With the wood finished, I glued in sets of tiny magnets to minimize unintended opening of the boxes. I wanted silver medallions with some of my Celtic knotwork for the tops of the boxes. Ages ago, a friend introduced me to metal clays. Those are high-tech clays made from organic binders and metal particles, silver being the most common. After drying, applying high heat to them causes the binders to burn off and the metal particles to fuse together. I never got around to playing with it much before, but had a small stash and decided to give it a try for this. I modeled the knot medallion in Nomad Sculpt. I have another video about how to do that, and I 3D printed a resin medallion. I used the resin medallion to make a silicone mold. I pushed the metal clay into the mold and let it dry. After a little finishing of the dried clay medallions with a sanding twig, I torch fired them. For silver, it takes about 10 minutes of careful attention with a small butane torch. Once cooled, I used a brass brush to remove the layer of burnt binder and fire scale from the surface. I used various tools like a bone folder and some tapestry needles to burnish the surface to get it shinier. My grandfather taught me to do pierced silver work when I was young. I still have some stuff from doing that, including some silver polishing compound. The pieces got a good polishing and washing. I attached the medallions in the pockets on the box lids with construction adhesive, which seems to work well for connecting metal to wood. Finally, I cut some pieces of headliner fabric on the laser to line the bottoms of the boxes. That helped give the dice a snug fit and protect them from scratching. I'm really happy with these. I enjoyed learning more about my Desktop CNC machine and about working with metal clay. I'm sure I'll be doing more with both of those things now that they're more familiar.